Welcome back. It's a new build and slightly different build and a new venture for me really. It's freeflight. It's from a new model company from the UK. It's called Cadet Models. They specialise in freeflight models, and this is called the Cadet. It's 800mm and it's designed as a freeflight beginner level glider. So let's open the kit and let's see what we've got inside. So this is run by a gentleman called Zeb, by the way, who's in the UK, and I will put the links on the website. I've got to be honest with you, and he won't mind me saying this, it's a fairly basic website, because I think he's fairly new to this type of thing and he's sort of feeling his way. So let's have a little look. Let's have a set of plans which we'll get out in a moment. Oh, who doesn't love a sticker? I'll put that away somewhere safe. Just having a look at the laser cutting. Well, it looks pretty good. I won't know until I start cutting it out, but that is the whole kit and caboodle there. Instructions. I've got some actual written instructions, which I think would be fun to go through. A nice plan. Now, my first suggestion is don't start building straight away. I'm the world's worst for this. But let's, I'm going to have a read up on these, have a cup of tea, and then I'll get back to you and we'll crack on. Okay, this might be your very first build, and it looks like it could be a great beginner's free flight glider. Let's just talk through a few of the things that you're going to need for this kit, and it's nothing expensive. So I like to use these very small sewing type pins, so plenty of those. These are all a favourite of mine, nail files. Get yourself a nice sharp blade. The other thing to make sure is replace the blades regularly. I have a slightly bigger knife for using on some more of the hardwoods. Now, glues. I think it's well known, I think I always say in all my videos, I'm not a big lover of super glue. So I am a big fan of this super phatic glue. I got mine from Angel Wing Designs, and I'll tell you what they do, which is very nice. I do like these applicators. I do have a little bit of thin cyano as well, in case of emergencies, or there's areas I think it might need, but if I can, I avoid it. The main reason for avoiding super glue, particularly on a model like this, is going to be the fact that super glue joints are very difficult to sand, whereas the alphatic is good. So I've got that, and the only other thing is you're going to need possibly a wood plane, and we'll talk about that when we get to the issue. Right, remember, always put your wood plane down on its side. Now, so the first thing is remove all the fuselage parts from the balsa sheets and find the position of each bulkhead. Number them if it helps to keep track of their position. Let's go. Right, here's my first tip for this, cutting out this particular model. Now, let me just show you this. Now, if you can see here, there are multiple tags to support these frames. which is not a bad thing, but you just need to be a little bit careful when you're cutting out. And let me show you why. My advice would be, and this is for the complete beginners that possibly, hopefully, are watching this video. So we've got a tag there, cut away like so from this. So what you want to try and do, and it might mean you end up having to move this round quite a lot, but if you're not paying attention, you might easily cut through this tag, which is going to spoil your day. All right, you can glue it back on, but it's not ideal. So my advice is try and it's not a massive cut you've got to make, but just make sure that everything, where possible, you cut away from any structure. And the other thing is, when you're punching it out, just push it from the bottom gently, and if you feel any resistance, stop and just go back. I mean, the laser cutting is good, but there's just an exceptional amount of tags on this particular model. Not an issue. Right, okay, so I've cut out my fuselage size, all four, and I've done all my formers. Now, let me make this life a lot easier for you. So if you look at your fuselage, the sides, you've got two fuselage sides where the holes are going to match. Superb. You've got one which has got this identifying hole on the top. That is the top. So this one that's got the hole here is the top fuselage, top deck of your fuselage. And this one here, where you've got these tiny little pinholes, that's where your tow hook's going to go. So this is your base, the bottom of the fuselage. Important to note. Now let me show you what I've just done with these, and how I identified them will make your life a lot easier, because the formers at the moment are not numbered, so I've numbered it all for you. It's going to make life a lot easier, and actually a lot quicker. So here we go. Okay, let me show you these formers and how I identified them, and this is going to make your life a lot easier. Fairly obvious, the smallest one was going to be number 6, and then all I did was I matched up the 5, because that again, so that's 5 is going to be the same sizes all round. Now when you get to 4 and 3, this is where there's a difference. So when you get to number 4, you'll notice in the bottom there's 2 holes like so, and you've got the sides have 1 peg on them, and then number 3 is only 1, but on the top of number 3, so in other words the top part of the fuselage is going to have 2, and you can see there, if I offer that up, you can see that that's where they're actually going to match. So that's going to drop in there like so. Now having identified all of these, and this is number 2 and this is number 3, I might drop a picture in for you, but not that I think you'll need it. Those are the most important thing to identify. Now my advice is, I would try every bit of this, because look, these actually stick through slightly, so if you go and try and fit that on the bench, it's not going to fit in properly because the bench is going to get in the way. So the next thing in the instructions, mark the inside of the fuselage sides, which we've done. Score on the inside of the nose sections with vertical lines roughly every 5mm, so this will help the sides bend and take the nose form. So what I've basically done is, from about here, I have literally got my knife, and I'm not cutting deep, I'm literally just going in. It's more of a scratch more than a cut, I suppose, but the idea is this will help us to bend the fuselage in when we come to actually glue it together. There you go. Give you some idea what I've done. Right, so we've identified our fuselage sides, we've identified our fuselage formers. The next thing we're going to need is we're going to need the little bit of wire that's in the kit, which is sellotaped to there, and we need to make 2 tow hooks that we're going to fit right now. Now there are instructions on the plans, and basically what we got to do is that there, and it says at the bottom there, we're just going to bend those to shape. I'm going to bend 2 to shape, and then I'm going to... So just bending up my tow hook, just standard pliers, nothing expensive, and then I've just done that first little nub in there, and the reason I've started there is because the next piece is actually the same width as my pliers. So if I put that in there on the very first bit, and then if I then sit that down on there like so, I can make sure that that is square across the face of there, so we're not going to get any twisting. So then the idea is that the next one is going to be hang on, let me just get this in the right order so I don't completely make a complete hash of it. Right, that's square, and then we're coming down. So I normally like to bend, it's only because my previous occupation many years ago started in dentistry, and my specialty was making orthodontic appliances for children's mouths. So if you don't have to use any special strength there, just bend it right at the point there, and then just, there you go, happy with that. Now the next bend, so there we go, I'll just get that. Now if you're slightly wrong, do not be tempted to take this bend off, because if you go back it's just going to snap. Now the next bend, that's actually bigger than my pliers, so I've got another set of bottlenose pliers here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide those bottlenose pliers up until I've got about the right thickness. I'm going to mark with my pencil there, and then I'm going to put that on there on the pencil mark, making sure that this is all square. Let me just check that there. Yeah, that goes on there like that. That is square like so. And then again, and I'm happy it's all square, I then just bend that like so. Now just a little tweak back. Oh, look at that, perfect. It's almost like I knew what I was doing. Right, so the last tip, when you are cutting wire, and if it's the first time you've ever done this, my advice is when you've got to the bit that you want to cut, my advice is if you put your finger here and then your finger on the other bit and then cut, making sure that those are not going to pinch the end of your fingers, this is then not shooting out and going to have you or anybody else's eye out. So always try and support both ends of the wire you're cutting, but make sure that your fingers are free when you're actually doing the cutting, because the classic is to pinch it there, and we used to call that a miller's pinch. Look that one up. So anyway, 2 tow hooks. Okay, stitching the hook in like so. Oh, we're going proper old school now. So this is just some normal sewing thread. It's 45 centimeters long. It doesn't have to be that long, but it's just nice to give you a little bit of security. Don't tie a knot at one end, and I'm using a very thin needle. So the idea is if you start on the inside, let me just show you there. So I've started on the inside, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to go down through there, leave a little bit left, and then the idea is we are then going to do a couple of loops like so. So I'm going to do a couple of loops there, so 2 or 3 loops there, and then I'm going to go over to the back holes and do 2 or 3 loops there. So obviously I'm going across at an angle, do a couple of loops and then go back at an angle, so that what you're actually doing is you're making these cross braces as strong as the loops as well. Don't do any super gluing until you've absolutely finished. Don't worry about cutting the tags off short. I'll show you what to do. So I've done my crisscross threading, not used any super glue. Now this will be the only time I'm using Sino on this kit, is I'm just going to drop a little bit on there now, like so, on either side. Not going mad, you want it to wick into the thread, and then what we're going to do is when the Sino has gone off, and I would say actually add a little bit of Sino just around the wood as well, because that will just help strengthen this area up, because it's quite a high stress area. I've got to say, doing this, it's obviously a free flight thing, but these toe hooks are well forward than where I would put them, so this is going to be interesting. Right, so when your Sino's gone rock hard, then all you can do is you can cut them tags off right close to the toe hook, because they'll be nice and stiff, and you can cut them off with a sharp blade. Okay, we've got our toe hooks in place. So the next thing is, it says glue the fuselage together, starting in the middle at bulkhead 3 and 4, moving backwards towards the tail and then forwards towards the nose. The tabs on some of the bulkheads might need chamfering slightly so that they fit nicely, but be sure not to glue a twist into the fuselage. It also says here, use the U-shaped plywood tool and secure it in place behind the bulkhead 6 with an elastic band around the aft fuselage. This will help keep it aligned when pressed down flat. So I'm assuming it's that. So I am going to start mine with the formers on the bottom with the toe hook, and then I'm going to add the sides, but I'm going to dry fit everything first, and then if I'm then happy, I'll then use alphatic. Right, there it is. That's the support that was mentioned. It went together reasonably well. My advice is, I didn't pin mine. I've used masking tape of mine. That's gone very well. The front took a little bit of jiggling. It's the only thing I would say. But yeah, just take your time. My advice is you can either pin this fuselage, or if you want to, do like I do, but I would just have a load of low tack masking tape ready to go. So I've done that with alphatic. I'm going to leave that and just get the next bits ready. And it says in the instructions, construct the pillar and sand to a nice streamlined cross section. Secure it to the fuselage with plenty of glue, and then the spruce strip and wing platform can be glued in place. Use the rib dihedral tool to set the correct angle for the platform. Right, wing pylon. You are going to need this, 2 of these. These are for the wing seats. And you're going to need this piece of spruce. Now I've cut this to length from the plan, and it's fairly obvious on the plan. It's this bit here. I'm assuming, it doesn't say in the instructions, but I'm assuming it's one piece. And I think the theory is that that goes on there like so, and then these go at an angle. Anyway, I'm going to sandwich these together with alphatic, let them dry, and then we'll sand these to shape. Okay, one pillar done. So the idea is that drops down into here, which we, there you go, fits all the way through. Yeah. Right, the pillar's done. I've not gone mad on the sanding. I've given it a nice sort of aerodynamic shape now. So that's the pillar done with the 3 pieces spliced together. Now, the next thing we have to do is this. So you need your tool, which is in the kit, and what we're looking for is this angle here, because this is the angle which is 160 degrees. So the theory is now, the other thing is the spruce, I have just rounded the corners off on the first 20 mil. So that's going to sit on there like so. And then the idea is that I've just, can you see where I've just made those slight, so this bit's flat, one side I've rounded off. The idea is that's going to sit underneath to make it a little bit more aerodynamic. They're going to fit on there like so, and then the angle, this 160 angle, is that there to take the wings, and that's what we're looking to do. So I suspect I might be calling on my old friend Sino just to help me do that, but that's what we're looking for. Is that finish there. Quick top tip here, I've got to sand a little angle on there. Now if you try and sand it on there, you're going to end up breaking that. So little top tip, if you get your steel ruler and just hold it there, pinch it, that's going to support the timber while you're actually just taking that angle like so. So that's the angle I'm looking for. Right, so we've done the wing pylon and the wing seating. Last thing to do is to just remove the excess in front of F1, and then what we're going to do is we are going to glue this block in, and again that's why I'd say use either superphatic or a wood glue, because we're going to need to be doing some sanding and Sino won't take very well. Now the last thing to fit is the skid along the bottom. Now a little top tip here, if you actually fit your skid in place, don't glue it, but if you just fit it in place like so and get your nose block, and what we're going to do, if I get my nose block, all I'm going to do is fit it in place like so, and then mark that with a pencil. That means I'm not going to remove too much before I fit the skid. So top tip, the bit where the skid goes, don't go mad on that, be a little bit too long on that, and then you can just slowly sand that to shape and drop the skid in. That is the fuselage done. She just needs a good sand. There you go. Rounded off the nose, put the skid on. That little top tip about marking the skid on the side of the block work beautiful. So there you go, that is one Cadet fuselage ready for covering. Now, my question to you, should I cover this in something like feather cover matte, which I think would look pretty cool, or are people interested in seeing it covered in old-fashioned tissue? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, the next thing I'm going to do is get everything ready to build the wings and the tail surfaces in the next video. Okay, so I get asked questions about the board. So I'm building this one in my house, not in the cabin. Now this is a school pin board. It's something called Sundealer. It's a particularly nice material for pinning, but it don't lay flat. So for this particular project, I've made it myself a frame because I want to do this in the house. And when I do have it up in the cabin, I do actually drill the corners to hold it flat. It doesn't lay flat very well, but if you get a nice frame for it, it's absolutely superb for taking a pin. So that's what I'm using. You could do exactly the same size. I mean, and use the one I use a lot of is foam board. So foam board will work on a frame as well. You've just got to make sure that you get it nice and flat. So anyway, that's a little bit about my the build board for this project. In a future one, I am going to have a go at using the metal sheet and the magnets, and that is for a future project.